His neighbor peered over the fence one sunny afternoon and asked, curiosity sparkling in her eyes, "Why are you still single?" Mark, a 35-year-old single dad, paused. His hands, rough from long days at work, tightened around the garden hose. "It's complicated," he said softly, eyes drifting toward the small swing set where his 5-year-old daughter, Lily, laughed. "You deserve happiness," she added, smiling. Mark's heart ached with both gratitude and quiet pain. After his wife passed unexpectedly, life had become a careful balance of bills, bedtime stories, and broken nights of sleepless worry. Romance seemed like a luxury he could no longer afford, not with Lily relying on him for every ounce of love and stability. Later that evening, as he tucked Lily into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, can we help the kids at the shelter tomorrow?" Mark's breath caught. Lily's innocent kindness reminded him of what truly mattered: helping others, sharing love, and living with compassion. The next day, they delivered blankets, food, and warm smiles to children who had nothing but each other. One little girl, cold and hesitant, clutched Lily's hand tightly. Mark watched as her fear melted into trust, her eyes lighting up with a spark he realized he hadn't seen in years. At that moment, Mark understood. Happiness wasn't about finding someone for himself. It was about living a life of selflessness and love, and in giving, he found a quiet joy he had almost forgotten. Sometimes the heart shatters before it truly learns to beat again. The next week, Mark found himself walking down a busy city street, hand in hand with Lily, when he noticed a young man struggling to carry groceries. Without thinking, he stepped forward and helped him load the bags into a small car. The man looked surprised, then grateful. "Thank you," he said, his voice tinged with relief. "I wasn't sure how I'd manage today." Mark smiled, shrugging. "We all need a little help sometimes." As they walked away, Lily tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, can we do more?" Mark's heart swelled. He realized that Lily's compassion was contagious. That evening, he sat on the porch thinking about all the lives they could touch, not through grand gestures, but small acts of kindness that made someone's world a little brighter. The next morning, he signed them up for a local volunteering program. Each Saturday, they visited the shelter, helping children with homework, organizing games, and sharing warm meals. One day, a young boy named Ethan approached Mark. His eyes were wide with admiration. "You're like a real hero," he said. Mark knelt down, meeting him at eye level. "No, buddy. Heroes are all around. Sometimes it's just helping someone carry their groceries, or giving a smile when they need it." That night, as he tucked Lily into bed, she whispered, "Daddy, I think people love us because we care." Mark kissed her forehead and realized she was right. The heart he had thought too broken to love had grown in ways he never imagined. It wasn't about finding a partner. It was about opening his life to humanity, letting kindness guide every step. Sometimes, being single wasn't a lack. It was a gift, giving him space to teach and share the most important lesson of all: love without limits. Weeks passed, and Mark's life slowly began to overflow with small miracles. The shelter children started calling him Mr. Mark, and Lily beamed with pride every time someone greeted them warmly. But one rainy afternoon, something happened that would change Mark's perspective forever. While returning home from the shelter, he noticed a woman struggling with her shopping bags, soaked through by the sudden downpour. Without hesitation, he ran over, offering her an umbrella and carrying her bags to the nearest bus stop. She looked at him, drenched and tired, and said, "Thank you. I don't even know how I would have managed without you." Mark smiled, but something in her expression stopped him. It wasn't just gratitude, it was relief, awe, and a hint of something he hadn't expected. Later that evening, Lily asked, "Daddy, why do you help so many people?" Mark thought for a moment, brushing wet hair from her forehead. "Because, sweetie, when someone is struggling, even a little kindness can change their whole day. And sometimes, it changes their life." Days later, the woman from the bus stop returned, this time carrying a box of homemade cookies. She introduced herself as Emma, a single mom who had just lost her job and had nowhere else to turn. Mark listened quietly as she shared her story, his heart aching for her struggles, yet inspired by her determination. By the time she finished, Mark knew something profound had happened. His simple act of helping her had sparked trust, hope, and a connection built purely on humanity. Lily's eyes sparkled as she whispered, "See, Daddy? You're magic." Mark chuckled softly. Magic, he realized, wasn't in grand gestures. It was in opening your heart, even when life felt heavy. And in that moment, he understood that kindness, given freely, had the power to heal not only others, but himself. A few weeks later, Mark received a call from the shelter coordinator. "We have a special request," she said. "There's a child here who hasn't spoken a word in months. They need someone patient, someone who can show them trust and love." Mark glanced at Lily. Her eyes lit up instantly. "Daddy, we can help them," he agreed, though his heart pounded. The child, a small boy named Lucas, clung to the corner of the playroom, trembling whenever anyone approached. Mark sat quietly beside him, not speaking, just offering a gentle smile and an open hand. Over the next few days, Mark and Lily visited Lucas daily. They didn't push, didn't rush. Instead, they shared stories, read books aloud, and played simple games, letting Lucas decide when he was ready to engage. One afternoon, as rain pattered against the shelter windows, Lucas slowly reached for Mark's hand. His tiny voice, almost a whisper, said, "Thank you?" Mark's eyes filled with tears. That single phrase carried months of fear, pain, and silence. Lily hugged him tightly. "See, Daddy? Kindness works." It was in that moment Mark realized the full weight of his choices. Every small act of compassion, every selfless gesture, was a thread weaving lives together, forming a tapestry of trust and love that could transform even the loneliest hearts. That evening, as he tucked Lily into bed, she asked, "Daddy, why aren't you married?" Mark smiled softly, brushing her hair back. "Because happiness isn't about being with someone, it's about giving your heart fully, wherever it's needed." And as he watched her drift to sleep, he knew she had already learned the most important lesson. Love, true love, begins with kindness, and sometimes, the greatest relationships are the ones we never expected. A few days later, Mark and Lily arrived at the shelter to find a small crowd gathered in the playroom. Lucas was there, smiling and laughing for the first time in months. And beside him stood Emma, the woman from the bus stop, holding a stack of thank you letters. "Mark," she said, her voice warm and steady, "you didn't just help me. You helped so many of us. These children, they trust again because of you." Mark's heart ached, but in a good way, a mix of humility and quiet pride. He glanced at Lily, who whispered, "Daddy, look! You really are magic!" Just then, the shelter director handed Mark a letter. It was from Lucas's estranged parents, thanking him for giving their son hope when they couldn't. Mark's eyes filled with tears. In that moment, he realized something profound. Love didn't always come from a partner. Sometimes it came from the courage to open your heart, to give selflessly, and to touch lives without expecting anything in return. That evening, as they walked home, Lily tugged his hand. "Daddy, maybe one day you'll meet someone who cares as much as you do." Mark smiled, ruffling her hair. "Maybe, sweetheart. But even if I don't, I've already found everything I need: love, joy, and purpose. And that's enough for me." As they reached their little home, Mark felt lighter than he had in years. The neighbor who once asked why he was still single would never understand the life he had built, a life rich with compassion, kindness, and connection. Because sometimes, being single isn't a question to answer. It's an opportunity to change lives, to teach love, and to find happiness in ways the heart never imagined. And in that quiet, glowing moment, Mark knew he was exactly where he was meant to be.